Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Set the Tempo. I am Tyler Conium, and we've got an expansion draft this Friday. How exciting is that? Before we get into that, you can follow me across all my socials at Tyler Conium, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, all that fun stuff. And also, this podcast is available audio versions on Apple and on Spotify. It's something fun to announce before we get into some major topics. I know you could, if you're watching the YouTube version, you can see at the bottom a big ownership announcement that I'm excited about. Certainly, I think a lot of Tempo fans should be excited about that. But a quick little announcement is this Friday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be live watching and reacting to the WNBA Expansion Draft because the Toronto Tempo, for the first time in history, will have players. They will have a roster. So I'll post the link shortly on this YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed and you're interested in this, please do subscribe. This Friday, we will go live here on YouTube. I thought about doing it on Twitch, but I think YouTube just makes a little bit more sense for now because that's where we've done all of our stuff so far. So this Friday for the expansion draft, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 3 or 3:30, can't remember, but we'll be live watching the expansion draft, reacting to the selections that are made. And we're going to talk about some of those selections that could be made on today's show because the WNBA teams have submitted their list as of Sunday. Now, the list is not public yet, which is sort of annoying. We don't know who the players are, so all we can do is speculate. And we will do some speculating on today's show of who the Toronto Tempo might select in the WNBA expansion draft. So really excited about that. If that's something you're interested in, certainly join the live stream, come hang out, and we will talk about the Toronto Tempo. So the topic of the day that I woke up to this morning that I'm pretty excited about is newest principal owner of the Toronto Tempo is none other than former Toronto Raptors president Masai Ujiri. A huge get for the Toronto Tempo, completely unexpected. There were no rumors of this happening. There was no speculation that this was going to happen. But Masai Ujiri has joined the ownership group of the Toronto Tempo. Quote, I think women's sport is growing in an incredible way. You see it in the WNBA, in soccer, in hockey. And to bring a brand like this for the first time to a city that I know, a beautiful city that's passionate, that I believe in, I think this will really resonate. Ujiri told ESPN, ownership is a unique opportunity for me and my family. Of course, ownership is led by Larry Tannenbaum, with whom he won a championship with the Raptors in 2019. It's been a year since he parted ways, sort of unceremoniously from the Raptors. Nobody's really sure of if that was an Ed Rogers thing, if that was a Ujiri thing. There's been speculation that he was going to go to another NBA team. He hasn't done that yet, so very interesting. We'll all see. In that year off, he's focused his continued work on the Giants of Africa, along with the Zaria Group, building sports and entertainment throughout Africa. He's been busy, which is good. Been doing tons of stuff. And an interesting note that I did see is he still has an eye on returning to the NBA if the right opportunity presents itself. Again, quote, I've been learning more about our game, the NBA, looking at trends and what we might be missing. I spend a lot of my time trying to do that because one of my main goals is to win another championship. I want to win with the Tempo, and I want to win another NBA championship because I wasn't able to celebrate and be happy because of the police incident that happened to me. Now, Raptors fans will remember when the Toronto Raptors beat the Warriors in 2019. Players are flooding the court. Ujiri tried to get onto the court as well to celebrate, and he was stopped by a security guard. There was an interaction, a physical altercation. There were lawsuits. You know, it was kind of a whole thing, a shoving match. It was really uncomfortable. It was really awkward. It was really unfortunate. I think all around, I think both parties certainly regret their escalation in it. Both eventually dropped their lawsuits, but he did say that it left a sour taste in his mouth that marred the Raptors title, and it does drive him to win another. So how does that work, right? Like, are you going to be a principal owner of the Tempo and then in the front office of another NBA franchise outside of Toronto? Does he end up coming back to Toronto? It's all very interesting and some moving parts there, but I think it'll be awesome as he works alongside GM Monica Wright Rogers and, of course, team president Teresa Resch, who was with the Raptors for decades. And she told ESPN, Masai has been a mentor of mine since 2008 when I worked one of his camps in Africa. We often connect on professional and personal developmental things. And since he's come on board as an owner, it's been another level. He's got big ideas and understands what it means to put a team together. So humongous news for Ujiri to join. I do hope it doesn't overshadow somebody like Teresa Resch, who's done some incredible work already with the tempo, and with Monica Wright Rogers, how that's going to affect the team makeup. It should only be a good thing. I don't think Masai Ujiri is going to step on any toes or want to have them walking on eggshells, certainly, but huge get for the tempo. It's nice to see Masai back in Toronto basketball in some capacity, even though that is with the tempo. So that was the biggest news, and now we can start talking about the expansion draft, which is just 3 days away. As we know, there was the coin flip. The Toronto Tempo won the coin flip. They decided they would rather have the first pick in the entry draft, the WNBA entry college draft, versus the expansion draft, which means Portland will get the first pick in the expansion draft. And we don't really know what that means. Obviously, Toronto is not probably looking for somebody like Arika Ngumbawale, not looking to spend a lot of money, is looking to start slower with some younger talent, with some lower contracts, and build from there. I was not necessarily a fan of that. I think you're in a unique position with so many free agents, with a smaller number of teams in this league, that you can kind of hit the ground running. If you can get a Ngumbawale and you can make the playoffs right out of the gate, I think that would be great for the Toronto fan base. And we'll see. That might still happen, but it doesn't look like that's necessarily their plan. But as mentioned, there was the coin flip. So the Portland team Fire will pick, and then they'll pick 7th in the entry draft, whereas the Tempo will pick 6th. So as I mentioned, we don't know what the list of teams is. This was submitted to the league offices on Sunday, and we don't know. And do we know if those will be released before the expansion draft? With my luck, it'll be released immediately before we record this podcast, and then all this speculation is sort of out the window. We will see. There will be 2 rounds with 6 picks per round, which will alternate between both teams. It is a snake-style draft, so after making the 12th selection, Toronto will go on to make the 13th selection to kick off the second round. On Sunday, each of the 13 teams sent a list to the league offices. Each team indicated 5 protected players who are ineligible to be chosen. Unrestricted free agents, reserves, suspended, retired, draft list, and core players are all indicated as such. Following the expansion draft, teams will only be able to offer the core designation to protected players. No team will lose more than 2 players through the expansion draft, and there is potential for some teams to lose 1 or more. So when the Tempo and Fire select a player, they retain the same rights that their previous team had. For example, if the Tempo selected a restricted free agent, assuming they are left unprotected, they'll be eligible to give them a qualifying offer, etc., etc., etc. The Tempo and Fire are each only allowed to select 1 unrestricted free agent through the draft. When an unrestricted free agent is selected, the drafting team becomes the only team that can offer that player a supermax contract. However, other teams are still able to negotiate with that player. So because there are so many unrestricted free agents, that was something we were trying to figure out. With so many unrestricted free agents, how does that play into it? How are teams going to negotiate all of that? So both the Fire and the Tempo can select an unrestricted free agent that gives them exclusive rights to offer a supermax contract. So for example, Sabrina Ionescu is an unrestricted free agent. Brianna Stewart, you can select them, you can offer them a supermax contract, but it doesn't necessarily mean you get to keep that player. They will still be open to negotiating with other teams for less than a supermax deal. So that is certainly an interesting wrinkle. Where do you take somebody that you don't think will sign with you because you have the ability to offer that supermax, or you just avoid that because you don't want to deal with that? So I think that will be interesting as well. Before the expansion draft, both new teams have 2 options for trading with existing WNBA teams. The Tempo or Fire could make an agreement to select a specific player in the draft and trade them to a team other than her previous one, or the drafting team could make an agreement to select or not select a specific player. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. I think the UFAs are sort of the most important part of this really ridiculous offseason because there are so many. There is so much uncertainty. There are currently 77 unrestricted free agent. Many will be left off the team's protected lists, meaning, there'll be sort of a unique opportunity there for both the Tempo and the Fire. So, although the protected lists have not been released, we can assume quality players, including some potentially worthy of the maximum, might be available, like the aforementioned Arike Agumbawale. We'll already have some key assets there in Dallas. Azurá Stevens has been rumored to be available as well. And then you've got a lot of teams that are sort of in this rebuilding process, the Wings, the Sparks, the Sky, and the Sun, who have good players but don't make the playoffs. It seems likely the Fire will take an unrestricted free agent with their first pick to ensure they get their top pick. The Tempo, on the other hand, don't really need the same urgency because they will become ineligible to pick another UFA. So, what is the Tempo's best approach? It's hard to say. It's hard to know. One list that I did get from Reddit that I quite like, that I wanted to share here. This is a mock expansion draft roundup from The Athletic, Raptors HQ, Bleacher Report, and Tempo Basketball. Now, if you're listening to the audio version, you obviously can't see this graphic, so I do apologize. If you're watching on YouTube, you're good. And it's interesting because, and I'll move this up and down, you can see, like, The Athletic has the Tempo making a lot of picks, right? A ton. So does Raptors HQ. But you have Bleacher Report, not so much, right? And the Bleacher Report one, to me, it's not interesting so much as it seems almost obvious. Like, they've got Kia Nurse, a Canadian. You've got Bridget Carleton, a Canadian. And you've got Brittany Sykes. Like, that to me just seems a little bit too, I need to make this mock draft right now, and here are some names. Do I think Bridget Carleton and or Kia Nurse end up on the Tempo? Yes. I don't think we end up with both. I don't think you need to take two Canadians just for the sake of taking two Canadians. And when you look at Kia Nurse's stats, obviously an all-star in 2019, averaging 14 points, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, but since the 2022 ACL injury, has been sort of in and out of the starting lineup. Last season with the Chicago Sky, had one of her better seasons in a while, but still 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1.3 assists, only shot 38% from the field. Like, I get wanting that name of Kia Nurse. She's on the TSN shows. She does all the Raptor stuff. I get it. But I don't know. I feel like at best, she's kind of a bench player right now. I apologize. I love Kia Nurse. I don't know how much I necessarily love that idea. Bridget Carleton, on the other hand, is a bit of an interesting pick as well. She's entering her age 29 season. She was third for most improved player in 2024 with Minnesota. Has spent 7 seasons with the Minnesota Lynx. Again, another Canadian, last season started all 44 games, averaging 6.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting, again, good from behind the arc, 37% from behind the arc, a 40% career shooter from behind the arc. The field goal percentage was way down, only 40%. Minnesota was in kind of a weird spot last year. So do I think that they take both of these players because they're Canadian? No. Do I think they end up taking one of these players? Probably. I think just honestly for marketing and for that name value, if I had to pick, I'd probably take Bridget Carleton. I just think maybe a little bit more of a ceiling. But it does probably end up Kia Nurse. An interesting name on the list from The Athletic, again, is the aforementioned Azurá Stevens, which would be very interesting. Age 30 season, the 6th overall pick of the 2018 draft, has spent the last 3 seasons with the Sparks after 3 years with Chicago and 2 years with Dallas. Last year was runner-up for most improved player, which is funny. At age 29, after 7 seasons, you'd be most improved player, but here we are. But had a good season, 13 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists with the Sparks. Now, keep in mind, Cameron Brinks obviously missed a significant portion of time, so you did have Stevens start all 44 games for the Sparks, played a career-high 28 minutes per game, but I do think that Stevens would be a good presence at that forward, at that center. You need somebody down low. You need somebody maybe with the experience because, again, you're going to be going younger in the entry draft. Going to be doing lots of different things there, which could be interesting. So I'll throw that list up again just because I thought it was interesting to see if you think there's any other interesting names that might be on this list. They do have them not making a selection from a lot of the teams, like Raptors HQ has them not picking anybody from the Sky, from the Fever, from the Aces, and they could leave a lot out there. So the one name that does appear on a lot of lists, of course, is Bridget Carleton and Kia Nurse. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting if they want to go more the free agent route, wait till after the draft, because it all happens so quickly. Like, we are now less than 6 weeks away from, less than 6 weeks away from opening tip. May 8th, the season opens. So you have this draft on Friday, which is April 3rd. And then in 5 weeks, the season starts, and you still need to have an entry draft, and you need to fill out the rest of your roster. So it's going to be interesting. So for all of the fun of the expansion draft, again, join me live this Friday. I will put the link on the channel today, so you don't forget, either 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. We'll be live reacting to the WNBA Expansion Draft, where the Toronto Temple will have their first ever roster player. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy WNBA or Toronto Tempo Talk, feel free to subscribe, drop a comment, all that fun stuff. My socials are there. Audio is also on Apple and on Spotify. Have a great Tuesday, and let's get ready for a draft.